12 years after FIFA announced that the world's largest football tournament would be played in the Middle East for the first time, the Qatar World Cup is finally happening. The country, mired with controversies relating to bribery, budgetary mismanagement, and human rights abuses, is expecting over 1 million tourists during the month-long tournament. Qatar is a tiny country with fewer than 3 million people and is one of the world's wealthiest countries. At first, they did not have the infrastructure to handle this influx, but over the past decade, they have revamped the entire country to host this mega event. In addition to building stadiums specifically to host World Cup matches, Qatar has been investing in modernizing its infrastructure. They have built new cities, new roads, added rooms to its hotel and apartment inventories, and spruced up existing airports while preparing to reopen old ones. To do all this, it has spent more than any other World Cup host country ever, not by a little, but by hundreds of billions of dollars. When Qatar was chosen as the 2022 host back in 2010, early estimates cited the potential cost at $65 billion, but currently, the infrastructure projects are valued at $300 billion. By contrast, the 2014 World Cup in Brazil cost an estimated $11.5 billion, and Russia in 2018 about $14 billion. While some of Qatar's projects have a long-term impact, there are many with concrete short-term benefits that support the needs of the World Cup. Over a period of 10 years, funds were spent on roads, bridges, and subway lines, with a substantial portion being spent on water infrastructure, particularly new water treatment plants. Some of the key infrastructure projects that have transformed the country are Lusail City development, the brand new metro system, the revamped Old Port of Doha airport expansion, and the Sabah Al Ahmed Road corridor. Qatar's largest investment ahead of the World Cup was building Lusail City. $45 billion was spent for this mega-development north of central Doha, which was still a desert in 2010. The new municipality includes an urban center, an artificial archipelago, and the magnificent Lusail Stadium, where the World Cup final will be played. Stretching over 38 square kilometers, Lusail is the second largest city in Qatar and the country's first sustainable smart city. The city is still emerging from the ground, and it will eventually have the infrastructure to accommodate 450,000 people across 18 different districts. Among several of Lusail City's attractions is the famous Qatar Towers in the Lusail Marina district, which houses FIFA's VIP guests during the World Cup. $36 billion has been spent on developing a driverless metro system in Doha, which serves 5 of the 8 World Cup venues. And unlike previous World Cups, where venues typically stretched across multiple cities, all games will be played within 31 miles of Doha's main corniche. That means the capital will swell by over 1 million fans, roughly a third of Qatar's entire population, for the month-long tournament. The close proximity of stadiums and the transport links will allow fans to attend multiple games on a single day. Most stadiums will be linked by public transit, including the new metro system and a fleet of electric buses. Qatar has built 8 breathtaking stadiums to host matches at the tournament. 7 of the stadiums have been built from scratch and 1 was refurbished. Their construction accounts for $10 billion of the estimated $300 billion Qatar has invested. To host the 1.5 million spectators expected to show up for the games, Qatar has constructed hundreds of hotels and service apartment towers. There are also cruise ships serving as floating hotels, providing thousands of extra rooms. Around 6,000 porta-cabins have been installed in the World Cup village for guests, and the Qatar government plans to donate these porta-cabins to low-income countries after the event. The boost that the 2022 World Cup will bring to the construction market in Qatar won't be over once the champions bring home their trophies. The recent opening of construction sites, which was spurred by long-term planning for Qatar's transformation, will continue to have an impact on the large-scale works industry. According to a report by Mordor Intelligence, an international consultancy firm in the sector, Qatar's construction market will be valued at $76.98 billion by 2026, setting its average annual growth at 10.54% for the period from 2021 to 2026. As the government has been investing in these projects, construction activity in Qatar has remained robust. Over the projected period, it is anticipated that funding for building projects will increase as a result of the government's efforts to diversify the economy, with a focus on non-oil sectors. Qatar's crazy spending is also aligned with the broader Qatar National Vision 2030, an investment plan focused on building large-scale works aimed at modernizing cities and fostering their sustainable growth. It is going to be a real driver of both the economy and of development over the next few years. The most recent Gulf Economic Update from the World Bank predicts that Qatar's GDP will increase by 3% in 2021, 4.1% in 2022, and 4.5% in 2023. By developing these new projects on the principles of sustainability and urban renewal, Qatar will become recognized as one of the most advanced nations in the area. Qatar's $300 billion infrastructure upgrade, including highway expansions and airport upgrades, will last for years to come. But in many ways, the 2022 World Cup is a financial anomaly. Qatar must still wrestle with the question of legacy, like all recent World Cups. That's the idea that the tournament should leave behind a meaningful footprint for the society at large in the country, one which justifies the colossal expenditure on just 4 weeks of football. That is a major struggle for most World Cups, but in the case of Qatar, there are serious doubts. One of the most obvious issues is the stadiums. Of the 8 venues, 7 have been built from scratch, and once the World Cup is over, the country of just 2.8 million people will have no need for so many large venues. The white elephant issue was a problem for recent World Cup hosts, and Qatar is aiming to put an end to that cycle. The tournament organizers claim to have built stadiums with modular elements, which will be reconfigured after the tournament to provide a lasting legacy for the 2022 FIFA World Cup far beyond Qatar's borders. Only one stadium will be called home to a football team afterwards. One other stadium will be dismantled altogether, while 6 of the remaining venues will have half their seats taken up and sent to developing countries to help improve their sports infrastructure. It is possible that Qatar will nonetheless use the new infrastructure to justify bidding to host major European finals in the future, such as in the Europa League or Champions League. Some of the investments make a long-term contribution to Qatar's development, but some of it is either superfluous to this development or of very low priority. For instance, the metro or highway that connects 2 stadiums on either side of Doha might make a very important contribution to transit convenience during the games, but represents next to no contribution afterwards. It is also important to observe that the costs of hosting will continue to increase after the competition is over. Parts of some stadiums are scheduled to be dismantled and shipped elsewhere, and the stadiums and other buildings that remain will require millions of dollars annually in operations and maintenance expenditures. These structures will continue to occupy valuable real estate, foreclosing other potential uses. Also, hotels built to house World Cup visitors will lie largely idle, and guest workers will be evicted. It is still unclear what will happen once the tournament comes to an end. Qatar faces the risk of an empty feeling once the fans go home, as the country is home only to 3 million people. The government hopes that the end of the World Cup will herald the dawn of a revitalized nation with a strong economy. The World Cup is anticipated to put Qatar on the proverbial world map, eventually boosting tourism, foreign trade, and investment. Perhaps it will also give Qatar a more significant role in geopolitics. What are your thoughts on these billion-dollar projects? Leave your ideas in the comments section below. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.